Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Hello guys, good evening. How are you doing, guys? Steven, our friend, is not here tonight. So my name is Wanderlei. For those who doesn't know me, I'm here with Samantha. She was here with Steven last week. We're gonna be doing the live today. So it's really nice to have you all guys here. People, they're going to start to come soon. Guys from America, hi. I know you guys have a different time zone than we have here in UK and Ireland. But the guys from Brazil also, hi. Oi, pessoal, tudo bem? And we are here. And Samantha will introduce the topic today, as she was talking with Steven last week. But let's give 1 minute before we keep going. And we're going to do our initial prayer. But I'd like to say good evening, Samantha, to everyone, please.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here with us. It's really nice to be here again. And as Stephen said last week, we are talking again about moral perfection. And it seems like I like talking about it, but I think it's just because for some reason, may I have something to learn, and that's why I'm talking about it so much. But it's a real pleasure to be here.
Look who we have here, Barbara Dantas Mendes.
It's really nice to be
Hi,
here
Barbara.
again.
Hello. Hello, Barbara. Let me see here. We have our friend Don here. Hello, Don. How are you doing, my friend? Chicago. I guess you have a nice weather there still. So, guys, we're going to do our initial prayer because this topic here, I wouldn't say it's long, but it requires a lot of time to be, exchanging some ideas with Samantha based on the Spirit's book. But it's quite an interesting topic to discuss and try to, to grasp a little bit more. Okay, guys, so we're going to do our initial prayer. I do the initial prayer, okay, Samantha?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, guys. For those who feel comfortable, I'd like to invite you to close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Try to concentrate ourselves at the present moment, forgetting about all the troubles and worries that we have outside. Trying to appreciate this time here among friends, incarnated and discarnated. Studying one more time the Spirit's book by Allan Kardec, The Spirit of the Truth, and the greatest of all spirits, our Master Jesus. May the good Spirit support and guide us here tonight, opening our hearts and enlightening our minds, in order that we can only talk about Spiritism and not about our ideas. And let's not forget that this work is the work of the spirits. We are just here, simple workers, helping to spread the Spiritism in Ireland. And that's a blessing for us. Thank God, and so be it. Okay, Samantha, would you like to start? Giving a quick brief about what you guys said last week, please.
Yeah, sure. So, before we start, I just wanted to say that if you guys have any questions or if you have any comments, just please write all your comments there. We love to hear your thoughts as well. So basically, it's an exchange of ideas. We have researched the topic a little bit before, but it's always good to have this exchange with you guys, so we know that we are in the right path and everything that we are saying, are making sense and all of that. So if you want to send us your comments and questions, be free to do so. And I just want to start with a brief recap, because this is the part 3, let's say like that we are talking about moral perfection. And this talk is based on, or this conversation is based on chapter 12, chapter 12 of the Spirit's book, part 3. And this is about moral perfection, this whole chapter. So it starts in question 893, and this question is about virtue. So Kardec asks the spirits, which is the most meritorious of all virtues? So we talked about it, and the spirit said that all virtues are meritorious. So everything that you do that is good is important and should be done. And then we moved on through the questions, and we talked about the passage in Matthew, versicle 6, item 2, 1, 2, 3, something like this, and where Jesus is in the Sermon of the Mountain, and he talks about us being careful when we are doing some charity or something charitable. When we are doing that, we should be showing what we have done, and not what we have done, so that the charitable act, and not ourselves. So it's about showing what was done so it can be seen by everybody, but not trying to show off for ourselves. So we need to be very careful with that. We also talked about not letting your left hand know what your right hand does. And we talked about how much it has to do with ourselves, because sometimes we do good just to prove to ourselves that we are doing something good. And this is not natural. So this idea of not letting one hand know what's the other doing is based on not counting what we do, and not even to ourselves, and this happens in such a natural way that we don't even see, not even for ourselves. So we talked a little bit about that, and then we talked about as well the what the Spiritist calls of, or they explains what is true ownership. So true ownership is everything that we bring with us when we leave Earth, when we leave the material world. And it explains that all the material things, all the possessions that we think we have, they are basically just things that will help us in this life to improve, or so they are things that we can use to improve ourselves in the process of improving ourselves. And they are not the what is important. What is really important is how we become better, and that is the only thing we are going to bring with ourselves when we leave this place, right? So we then ended with question 912, where the Kardec asks the spirits, what is the most effective means of fighting the predominance of the corporeal nature? And the answer was practicing self-denial. And we talked about it a little bit as well. So self-denial is basically when you do something with others in mind, without an agenda, you're doing it just for the sake of doing it, and just for the benefit of others, not for the benefit of yourself. And also it has to do with things that you let go, right? So sometimes you want to have something just because of prideness, and sometimes it is important to understand that this is not what really matters, and have this ability to let go, to let things go. So basically that was all that we talked about. Well, it's a lot. We talked almost 2 hours about it, so 1 hour each day. And if you guys weren't here before, I recommend you visiting these lives that are on Facebook and on our YouTube page as well. So if you want to know more. And now, starting the topic of today, we are going to focus on selfishness, as Stephen said last time. And I just want to start with question 913 from the Spirit's book. And this question says, of all the vices, which may we regard as the root? So, sorry, of all the vices, which may we regard as the root? And then the Spirit's answer, we have already told you many times, selfishness. All evil derives from it. You study all the vices and you see that selfishness is at the bottom of them all. As much as you may struggle against them, you will never uproot them as long as you have not destroyed their cause. Let all your efforts tend toward that end, because selfishness is the true scourge of society. Those in this life who want to approach moral perfection must approach from their heart every sentiment of selfishness, for selfishness is incompatible with justice, love, and charity. It neutralizes all other qualities. So, in this question, I think it is really interesting the way they put here that selfishness is the root. So basically, it's the cause of most of our problems, and if it's not, so it's the basis of our problems and our wrongdoings, and also basically, if you forget about all the other ones and focus on combating selfishness, you see the results in all others. So it just shows how important it is for us to focus on selfishness. It's not to say that you shouldn't think about all the other, well, let's say, issues that we have, tendencies or bad tendencies that we have. But if you focus on selfishness alone, you are going to do a lot by itself. So it's a very interesting way of explaining, in my view, the importance of trying not to be so selfish, trying to think about others when in all your acts and in everything that you do. So I just wanted to hear your thoughts as well, Vanderlei, on that.
Well, I mean, the question is quite self-explanatory, to be honest, the reply. But at the same time, I always tend to see which stage are we? If we are in this stage right now, how were we, I don't know, 10,000 years ago? Let's not go that far, 3,000 years ago. So as he says here, Kardec's, the spirits, they say, it's the root of all the evil that we have. So let's think about a pyramid, okay? A pyramid, it's something like this, if I'm not mistaken, yeah? So let's say the basis is quite large. The top is quite small, it's quite narrow. So the spirits, they understood that for us, as a being in the primitive state as before, and as new spirits that we were, you know, we had to go through these phases, and they knew that we would selfish in order to survive, because they knew that this force was very important in order to us to build civilizations, in order to us to improve our knowledge. And they knew that, of course, even if selfish is the worst things, because everything in the universe progress step by step, nothing doesn't. There is nothing in the universe which really progresses from day to night. So they knew that we would go through this phase. So in order for us to destroy selfishness, we have to destroy other things. That's why when you have in the Sermon of the Mount, or the Sermon of the Mount, or in the the Sermon of the Mount, I think that's the proper translation. When Jesus starts to say, good are those who does this and that. I don't remember exactly. Like, he starts from the easiest one. Then to destroy self would be in a higher level, in a higher degree of self-knowledge first, and of knowledge of all things. So in order to us to destroy self, we have to destroy other things first. But then here, as it says in the book, but if you destroy selfishness, everything will be destroyed altogether. But yes, the spirits, they more or less say this, but I don't think in life it always works like this. It's like, for me, if I'm, let's say, I have to build, a house, I'm going to start with the basis, yes, but sometimes I'm going to start with the easiest part. Or if you are overweight and you want to lose weight, you're going to start with the easiest first to get the habit of doing this. Then once you get the habit of doing this, you go for the more difficult tasks. So for us humanity, I really believe that yes, now with the teachings that we have from Jesus, once Jesus, he washed the feet of the apostles, and he told to them that no master was more important than any servant. Once he gave the example to us, and many other spirits came after Jesus and before Jesus, who gave the example to us also. So we are getting these examples for a long time. The greatest example for us in Spiritism was Jesus, of course. But we have people, good people in America, in Europe, in South America. We have people who gave to us good examples. We are taking these examples and now grasping that we have to destroy selfishness. So we are in this process. But to destroy selfishness right from the beginning, for us who are primitive spirits, I believe would be quite hard. That's why we have to forgive ourselves. Okay, I'm not able to do this today. I'm gonna try to work in other problem which I have for myself, in my personality. And keep going until we have completely we are self-aware of ourselves, and then perhaps we can fight uh, more directly selfishness. I don't know if it makes sense, but that's what I think.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
It does a lot. And one interesting thing that while we were talking about selfishness is in us, since the beginning, and it was important because it was responsible for our survival. I'm also thinking about how God is perfect, that everything exists for a reason, and not because God was just capricious and decided to put some bad things on us. So a lot of times we don't use it properly, and we tend to overdo it, and go to the other side. And also we with that we kind of lose track uh, a little bit of where we should go, but it's not there for nothing. There is a reason for it to exist. And it's the same, like last Sunday I talked about fear, and how fear holds us back, and fear is basically the same thing. So fear exists because it is important for our survival. If you wouldn't fear anything, you would cross the road without looking at both sides. So you would be killed. And it is important to have fear. But at the same time, and as always, we need to combat our bad tendencies and understand that this is in us. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's something that we need to work on with, or work on.
Very true.
Yeah. And while we're talking about things that we need to work on, I think this brings us to the next question as well, which is question 914. Since selfishness is based on personal interests, it seems difficult to entirely uproot it from the human heart. Will we ever be able to do so? And then the reply is, as humans become enlightened about spiritual things, they attach less value to material things. Next, it is necessary to reform the human institutions that entertain and excite such attachment. This depends on education. So I love seeing your face. You're probably thinking about so much
No, I'm
stuff.
thinking, but because for me, it's really like the reply from the spirit. It's so logical, makes so much sense. As we were saying about building a house, you have to work on the basis first. So in order for us to comprehend education, we had to go all through these phases: Roman Empire, Babylonian, Egypt. We had to go all through that phases in order to us to understand that certain things work, certain things doesn't work. Now we are improving ourselves. We are now in a level now that French Revolution played a big part on it, and many other small revolutions around the world, where people they understood that it's no good only for me. I have to give to the others. But to give to the others, the other must know how to use that. So how will the other know how to use something? It's like I give a Ferrari to anyone, to everyone around the world. Everyone, okay, I knock your door tomorrow. Hey, here's a Ferrari. You can go up to 300 kilometers per hour. I don't know how fast it is. Not big fan of cars. Just use an example. So if you give that to everyone, I think in the next day we're gonna have so many deaths. Why? Because people they're not well prepared to drive a Ferrari. So if you don't work in educate people in order to then to understand that this life that this peaceful world, this good world and charitable world, more fair world that we want, in order to also have this, we have to educate ourselves. That's why in the Medium's book, this phrase is also in the Gospel according to Spiritism, the second edition. But the first time which this phrase, Allan Kardec, the spirits they gave to Allan Kardec, the spirit of truth, was in the Medium's book, that he says, Spiritists, love one another. That's the first commandment I give to you. The second one is educate yourselves. So that was the spirit of truth saying to us. The basis is to love. But in order for us to love each other, to learn how to love, we have to educate ourselves. Educate what? Is it about educating about the mathematics? No, not only. Educate about physics, about the solar system, the universe. No, it's about educating our hearts. It's to putting ourselves in the other shoes. It's to understand that if Samantha is having a bad day, that's no good for me. If my boss is having a difficult day at work, if I see my boss, my manager failing, why would this her failure be helpful to me? No. But in order for me to start to have this kind of thoughts, I must have to educate of course, my mind. When I mean my mind, I mean about the spirit, but also educating my heart and say, hey, how about if I was in her position, how would I feel? But for me, it's very logical. It's a very logical reply. That's why I love the spirits book, because the spirits they come and bam. They don't really go around and say,
Yeah.
"Ooh, my friend." They just go and bring in their faces.
So an example of that is when they answered the first question I read. They said, "We have already told you many times."
Many times.
Selfishness.
Yep.
We have already told you many times. They're very straightforward. But just if I can add a little bit to what you said about education, I think it is very interesting. I was watching this video that was also talking about moral perfection from by Simon Pedro, and he was explaining a little bit of what the spirits meant when they said education. Well, he was explaining exactly what you explained, and if I could just add a little bit, one more thing that Simon said about it is that we need to, when we talk about education, if we really think about the word educate, it's from Latin, and it, the meaning is to, it's like, it's a movement, or it's an action that you do from inside out. It's not from outside in. So it's the difference between formation and information. So when you study, when you go to university and you learn to be a doctor, or you learn to be a lawyer or a psychologist, anything, you're learning, but with the aim of applying everything that you learned, because you're going to become a doctor and you're going to perform operations, and so you're going to put everything in practice. So those things will come from you, it will form you, and you do something about it. So this is education, and information is you're just digesting, what's coming, and uh, through your mind, and you're just introducing things. So you read an article, or even anything, social media, anything, you just read in there, and you don't have the aim of not of doing anything with it. So that is a remark that he does, and I found it really, really interesting. And also in the Spirit's book, at the end of this part, after question 917, somewhere here, well, I'll find it somewhere. So it says, it's not about intellectual education. It's not about learning about the world itself, or learning history, or learning science, or any of those things. It's about, as you said, it's about learning how to become a better man, a better humankind, or a better person, basically. So that is the education that he talks about here. Not that the intellectual education is not important, it is important. And it has, in one of the questions in the Spirit's book, Kardec asked the spirits, so if we need to if we need to not be attached to material things, why do we work? Why do we learn so much? What do we do with all of those things that we have? And they explained to Kardec that those are absolutely necessary for our transition here in the world. And so because we learn, or because everything that we see in university, or you become a profession. So what would be of the world if there was no doctors, or if there was no nurses, or if there was no I don't know, maybe a builder constructor? So all of it is necessary, as it composes this world, as it they all together, they make the means of us being here, interacting with all of those things, and learning from it, and improving ourselves. So they are mechanisms, and they are also materials that we can use to improve ourselves as a species, because that is important. The more you evolve, the more you learn, the better you can use those things as well, and it has its value. But also as a spirit, because as we said before, we're not going to take it. We are not going to take it with us when we leave this place. So they are important here. They are important. They explain that absolutely, it's very important. Because when you learn, when you have this intellectual knowledge, you also become a better citizen, and this is important. But the education that we talked about here, and which is the focus of this conversation and of destroying selfishness, is the education that comes from inside out, the education that we use, or that when we learn things so we can apply them, to be a better human being.
True. So just before you go here, we have two friends here, Thiago, Raimundo. Hi, Thiago. How are you doing, man? Good evening. Our friend here, Patrocinio José. Hi, Patrocinio. Welcome, guys. Yep. So please, Samantha.
Yeah. So all of those questions, they are very interconnected. So if we go to question 915, it says, since selfishness is inherent, should the human species won't it always be a permanent obstacle to the reign of absolute goodness upon the earth? It is certain that selfishness is your greatest evil, but it is connected to the unpurified nature of the spirits incarnated on the earth, and not to the human species per se. Upon purifying themselves over successive incarnations, spirits get rid of selfishness, just as they get rid of other impurities. On the earth, are there not persons who are divested of selfishness and who practice charity? They exist in greater numbers than you might think, but you know few of them, because virtue does not seek to reveal itself in broad daylight. If there is one, why would there not be 10? If there are 10, why would there not be 1,000, and so on? So, to me, two things here. One of them is we will improve ourselves. So this is certain. And the other thing is, it says that they exist in greater numbers than you might think, but you know few of them, because virtue does not seek to reveal itself in broad daylight. So when you open the newspaper, you see a lot of bad things, and I think that it's changing nowadays. And me personally, I don't like reading papers or anything or I listen to podcasts a lot, and I don't like listen to the ones that don't bring anything good as well, because I don't think there's only bad things in the world. And I think we don't see the good things, because a lot of times we are so involved, and we are still, we still perpetuate our passions, and we kind of, there's a game going on, and we kind of like it, so seem bad things to us, it seems like it still seems more important than seeing good things. But this is a tendency that we will overcome in the future. But I value the ones that has good things as well, and show good things as well, because they are happening all the time. And it's just a matter of focusing on them and showing them as well. So I think we drive the market, and if we start or if we stop reading those newspapers that just show the bad side of society, or it's a choice that we can make as well. But there are too much good in the world, as the Spirit said here, and we can see even through this pandemic so much good happened, so it's not a matter of trying to detract ourselves from the bad things in the world and forget that they exist. No, it's not that. They are there. We are imperfect. We are in a transitory planet, so those things are still going on. But we also need to put light on the good things that exist in this world, and there are many. It's just a matter of us opening our eyes. And we tend to think that the world is bad because sometimes we say this world is, it's hopeless. There's nothing we can do about it. It's all disgrace and bad things in the world. But one, as I said, you're just seeing bad things because you're not moving to other sources of information, and also you're basically forgetting the past. So a lot of times we say those things because we are only basing our comments on what we are seeing now. But if you look throughout history, how things were in the past, you can see how much we have already overcome, how much evil we have already extinguished from this world. And I think we have a huge potential. So we are certainly better now than we were in the past. If you look at everything that happened, all the wars and everything that happened in the past and how we lived in the past. So all of that. So if you try and have a different perspective, you see that things are improving.
No, I agree with you, Samantha. I always have the same way of thinking that nowadays we live in a much better place than before. I'd say someone says that we don't live in a good place nowadays. Let's imagine if they were having a surgery 500 years ago without any penicillin or anything. Then I'd say they would love the world that we live in nowadays. But the part which strikes me the most of this reply is once he says about these good people which are everywhere. Like sometimes, people they say, "Oh, do you believe in angels?" And I do believe in angels. But what is an angel? Is it a being with two wings like Red Bulls behind? The Red Bull gives wings. No. For me, an angel is that mom that has maybe three kids and no husband, and she has to do her work every day in order to keep their kids studying, to feed them, to teach them a good moral proper education. Those poor people, that they don't tend to do harm to the others, who don't tend to go to criminality, and they keep doing their simple job. Those who are working now, fighting COVID-19, but you don't see their names in the front page of the newspapers. You see the names of presidents, perhaps for some dictators, and all these people who are quite well known. But the people who are fighting, we don't see their names. And these people are the people that perhaps, even if they are like completely forgotten in our society, once they arrive in the spiritual world, they're going to be facing a much better reality than we do. There are many people with much more knowledge than what they had, with much more facilities of which they have here in life. But what those people, these good people, as Kardec mentions in the Spirit's book, this 1 or 10 or hundreds of them, what do they have in common? They are good. They help one another. They are fighting selfishness on them. They understood that the important is to help the other, and not only them. Of course, they have to survive. So once they arrive there, they are like heroes. And we have these people in society. But as Samantha said, we tend to go to see the red blood on the newspaper. We tend to go to social medias and only see what's not good. But if you really kind of try to elevate our vibration and try to tune ourselves with good things surrounding us, we may see these people. And guys, believe me, sometimes you have someone like this, so good on your family or among your friends, and maybe you don't know or don't appreciate. So good people, these good spirits, they are surrounding us for what? Is that for pleasure? No, They are here to teach us hard hearts, hearts who are still attached to selfish and material things. And then comes a simple person, maybe a teacher in a school or your auntie, who gives you a good example, who change your entire life. So these good spirits, these good people, they are everywhere. But are we ready for it? Are we open for it? Are we open for the good news that we have everywhere, but we don't want to see them? So once we start to open ourselves, I think these people, they're gonna show themselves to ourselves. I don't know if it makes sense, but that's the. What do you think, Samantha?
No, I agree with you, and I think it makes a lot of sense. Yeah. While you were talking about good people, I was thinking about a boss that I had in the past. I was very young. I worked in this company. He was deaf, and he was the most amazing person I've ever met. Full of love in his heart, and everything that he did, you could see how much caring he was, with everyone. So, as you said, they are all around us, and we just need to open our eyes and try and see them. And just trying to move a little bit so we can maybe finish this part. Yep. I just wanted to read the next question, because I think it has a bit to do with what we talked. Yeah. So, far from decreasing, selfishness increases with civilization, which seems to excite and entertain it. How can the cause destroy the effect? And then the answer from the spirits was, or is, the greater the evil, the more heinous it becomes. It has been necessary for selfishness to produce much evil in order to make you understand the need to uproot it. When human beings have been freed from the selfishness that dominates them, they will live as brothers and sisters. They will not wrong one another and will mutually help one another through the fraternal sentiment of solidarity. The strong will then be the supporter and not the oppressor of the weak, and no longer will anyone lack what is needed, because all will practice the law of justice. This is the kingdom of the good that the spirits are in charge of preparing. And then it says, see number 784. And we go to question 784, we see, humankind's perversity is very great. Doesn't it seem like humans are regressing instead of progressing, at least from a moral point of view? And then the answer from the spirits was, you are mistaken. Observe the whole closely, and you will see that they are advancing because they have a better understanding of what evil is, leading them day by day to reform their abuses. The excess of evil will make them understand the need for the good and for reforms. And I think that this is so interesting. This is so interesting. We talked a little bit about those things already, but one thing that strikes me here is when it says, the strong will then. No, sorry. Well, basically, I can explain with my words. So, hopefully. And so what strikes me in this question is the part that says that sometimes the evil needs to be so great that we can see it. Because sometimes, it's like, let's say you have a shoe that is kind of hurting you a little bit, And then it's hurting a little bit, but it's fine. Like, you can go to work with it, go, oh, this is annoying, but it's there and it's fine. You can, it's fine. You can support it. And you go to work and you come back, and this thing is still there, but you're still dealing with it. But then one day it's hurting so bad that, you're bleeding, and you can't walk, and it's just so huge. Then you think, you know what, I need to change these shoes because this is not serving me anymore. So sometimes, like, these wrong things, these bad things, they need to be very great so we can see them and we can do something about them. One example that I think maybe we could use here is, I am amazed by the fact that, we had so many wars in the world, and we still have them, and we had a lot in the past when we had the First World War, and then we had the Second World War, and then we were destroying ourselves. So we had the First World War. The world was almost destroyed. Everybody was suffering. And we had the Second World War after that, and we almost killed each other. It was basically the whole world fighting. Of course, some nations were not involved, but they were probably affected as well. But, it was almost all nations. And then something happened at the end of the World War II that maybe it wasn't even necessary, because historians and politicians discussed that if it was really necessary. But the United States dropped 2 bombs in Japan, right? 2 nuclear bombs, and then we see how ugly things can get, because with those 2 bombs, we were sure that we can destroy ourselves. We can extinguish ourselves from this world. I'm not saying there won't be a third World II. I hope not, from the bottom of my heart. But what I think happened there was, we needed to see things that bad for us to understand that this is not the way. This is not what's going to solve things, because we are going to kill each other, if we continue doing that. So there needs to be another way of agreeing, of living in peace, and we need to find this way. But if we keep fighting and we keep fighting, we will just destroy each other. There won't be anybody here to tell this story. So I know it's a very dramatic example, but it's an example of how sometimes things need to get really, really bad for us to understand that we need to change.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything that you said, sir, but I wouldn't say that I disagree from the last part, but I want to bring a different point of view. I don't think we need, to be honest. But we, as a human species, we tend to only do things once, as you said, once it really hurts us.
Yeah,
But God does not impose this as a rule. So God says to us, that's the good way and that's the bad way. Which one do you want to take?
Mm-hmm.
When I mean God says, I'm not saying that God comes from the heavens and say, hey, do this or do that. No. But as we have in the Spirit's book, our conscience is written in our mind. So humankind, we know what's good and not good in general. We know once we are doing something bad or something good in our hearts.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that we need, but we choose that. Why we choose to harm the others? Because we are afraid. Because as you said before in many speeches, fear is a feeling that can lead us to do things that perhaps is not in our nature, but because we are afraid, we don't know the other, what we're going to be doing? We're going to be fighting. But of course, we are only seeing that with our human eye. But remember, we are talking about a universe which has 200 billions of galaxies. So in these 200 billions of galaxies, trillions of planets. So there are more planets, there are more places around the universe which are in a very similar position that we are, living similar lives that we are living, dealing with similar moral struggles that we are dealing, doing good and doing bad. But maybe those places, they are suffering less or suffering more because maybe they need more atomic bombs. I understand what Samantha said. So people, they need more evil in order to see good. But some other ones, they don't need. That's why
Yeah.
spirits, they progress in a different rate. Some spirits, they take the
Mhm.
good decision and they progress faster. Those ones like me, who are very rebel, they always tend to go for the wrong. They still gonna keep coming. And I'm not saying that it's good or right, but we are suffering, we are suffering and suffering and suffering, and we are making the other suffering while we are really understanding that there is no necessity to be fighting. So, at the end of the day, I'd say it's just because we tend to use our free will in the worst way possible.
In a
And
poor
that's
way.
something that, yeah, and that's something that we are masters of doing. Thank God there are some good spirits who do better than us, because they are the ones who guide, who try
Mhm.
to help us, giving good
Mhm.
examples. But me, I think I went to the queue of doing wrong several times. I chose several. I was pressing the button, do wrong, do wrong, do wrong. I think I was like this, but it's okay.
Yeah, no, I agree. I completely agree what you said. And in question 917, I'm not going to read it because I don't think we will have time for that.
Yeah,
But it says basically that. So it asks how, because Kardec is very practical. He's all the time asking, okay, so you said that, but how can we do better? How can we put this in practice, right? So he asks how we can overcome selfishness. And it is interesting that in the answer, the spirits, they say exactly what you said. So what we are doing is we are being selfish because we give this, and we kind of give this reason to ourselves. I'm being selfish because Vanilla is selfish, and if I don't defend myself, you know, um, what's going to happen? And this is basically what happens throughout history. As I said, um, the reason why we have arms is because we want to make sure we can protect ourselves, not because we want, well, in theory, as you said, sometimes we have poor choices and we do some bad things with what we have. But in theory, the reason why we have an army and the reason why we have, all the machine guns and all of that is because and that's why it's called defense forces, right? We want to defend ourselves. So we have this reasoning. I'm selfish because the other person is selfish. I am brutal because the other person is brutal. I am, so he invites us, the spirits invites us to see it on a different perspective. So what about um being good and see if the other person maybe the same way, they are going to be good as well. So they are going to see how good you are, and they're going to see these good things in yourself, and they'll do the same. They're going to do the same. So same logic, with um different attributes, with different ideology, or with different state of mind. So um it is very interesting because it's exactly what you're saying. We are defending ourselves a lot of times. We have this kind of justification for doing what we do and continue to do what we do. And just after question of 917, what I think that kind of summarizes everything is this phrase here, or this paragraph. Selfishness is the source of all vices, as charity is the source of all virtues. Destroying the former and developing the latter should be the aim of all people's efforts if they wish to ensure their happiness in the world as well as in the future.
Yep.
So I think that kind of summarizes everything that we talked about today.
Very true. I mean, just a quick note before we end. It's nice because once we have the Spirit's book here, this message that we are reading here comes from the Spirit Fenelon, you know. And once we read all these questions for us, people like me who needs a proper answer to things to make sense, it makes sense. Yes, okay. But now, knowing this, knowing the Spirit's book, and applying that, there is a huge gap in between. That's why when Jesus said the same things which the Spirit's book said, of course, Jesus said before, because all the knowledge that we have in the Spirit's book, according to what we believe in the Spiritist, comes from the teachings of Jesus. But he said in simple words, for simple hearts. Now we need to complicate because our intelligence is growing. That's why we need more explanations. But it's always like if you always hold yourself into the basics, you're never going to go wrong. That's why Jesus said, do to the others what you would like to be done to you. If you do this, you're never gonna be selfish. You don't need to read all these questions. If you apply only this, but I'm not saying to read, pay attention. I mean to apply, to live this as your motto of life, as your life philosophy. If you do this, once you go to the other world, even if you haven't heard about the Spirit's book or any word of Allan Kardec or any word of philosophy, you are safe if you apply that. But if you read all the books but never applied one line of these teachings, then welcome to the club. We are gonna be in trouble.
Until we're not.
Yeah. Okay, Samantha, we're gonna just now read here and make a few announcements here. We have Leah. She said here to us, the hour flew by. Thank you both for the lessons this evening. Thanks yourself, Leah, to be here with us one more time. We appreciate your time. Just have some announcements here, guys, before we finish. So let me see. For those who want to twist a little bit more about Spiritism, want to go further in the teachings of the Spirit's books, we recommend not only watching the lives, but participating, discussing, the Spirit's book. And we have a beautiful time with Nate and Tanya Moore on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. The study is done via Zoom. So if you guys want to go there and enjoy, please, guys, send an email to us, spiritismisland@gmail.com, a little bit before, and then they are able to send you the link. Then you guys can enjoy the study, and there is no requirement.
And hopefully enjoy as well.
Oh, hopefully enjoy as well. Yeah, of course. Yeah, joy and enjoy. Thanks, Samantha. But there is no requirement. Really necessary to join the studies. You don't have to know anything about Spiritism. Just an open heart and an open mind. What else we have here? As Samantha said before, if anyone here is suffering, having any mental issue, any difficulty related to mental health, please send an email to, please access mentalhealthisland.ie. They are not spiritists. They have no relation with us. They are just doctors, who are trying to help people in this difficult time of COVID, with mental issues. Anything else someone would like to say?
No, I think that's all. Maybe just to say that we are having our talk shows every Thursday, like this one, and every Tuesday, from 7:15. Like today, 7:15 Ireland time, Irish time, and also we have our Sundays meetings, our Sundays talks every every Sunday, of course, from 11:15 Irish time as well. So if you guys want to join, you're very welcomed.
That's it. And once we have updates regarding COVID, guys, once we are back, we're gonna let you guys know. But please access our page, Spirited Society of Ireland on Facebook, our YouTube channel also, where we have more videos there. Please subscribe. You know, it helps us, not because we want to be bigger YouTubers, but it helps to spread the Spiritism teachings to more and more people, you know, especially English speakers. Let me see, I have two comments here. Okay. Okay, Leah is asking us if we had the daylight saves yet. Yes, we did. I think it started last Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, last Sunday. Now we have 1 more hour difference.
Mm-hmm.
So okay. Patrocínio is asking to add the email here. I'm gonna add here, Patrocínio. Just 1 second. Okay. Comments. There is Patrocínio. Thank you very much for asking. Yes, please send an email to Tanya and to Neide. They're going to reply to you as soon as possible. And they're going to send you the Zoom link for the meeting. And it's quite nice. They're really nice. They know a lot. And there, I'd say it's even nicer than the speakings that we have on Tuesdays, Sundays, and Thursdays, you know, because there you can go there and then ask questions. You know, you are free to talk. You are able to discuss. Here you just have two wonderful people, you know, talking, you know, but there you have more wonderful people explaining. Yes. Let's see here. We have anything? We have Carlos Felipe saying thank you. Thank you, Carlos. And that's it. That's it for today, guys. Whoops. Did oh, did you get the message? Sorry, guys, but did you get the message, guys? The address? Did you see someone?
Yeah,
Let's see.
the email address is here. Yeah.
It's there. Okay, just make sure. Perfect. Okay, Samantha. So if you want to do our final prayer, unless you want to say something else.
No, I think that was all. I already talked too much.
No.
So let's do our final prayer. If you guys want to close your eyes, if not, that's okay. So let's raise our thoughts to Jesus, to God, to our spiritual friends. Let's raise our thoughts to our mentors, and take this opportunity to thank them for everything that we learned today, for them being with us all the time and helping us in so many different ways, but never letting us alone, for let's thank for everything that we temporarily have in this world that can help us improve. So let's ask as well for intuition and for let's say for their help when we need it, because we are still imperfect and we are trying to work on our selfishness and pride and everything that we, you know, all the bad tendencies that we still have. Their help is so important to our improvement, and we thank them for being on our side always, even when we do bad things, even when we let ourselves go by our bad tendencies, and they understand us, and they keep being on our side, regardless. So thank you so much, dear God, dear Jesus, dear Spirit, our friends, and especially our mentors. So be it.
So be it. Okay, guys, thank you. Hi, Patricia. Thanks for being here also with us. Okay, guys, thank you very much, guys. See you next Tuesday with the studies about the Gospel according to Spiritism with Stephen. Thank you, Samantha. It was nice to be here with you tonight.
Thank
You're
you.
the best.
I'm not.
See you guys.
Thank you, guys. Bye.